Week 5. Can you believe it, Bloom? Week 5. Waiver Wire show is here for you. It is the Audible Cecil, Lammey, Sigmund, Bloom, and the full waiver report available at footballguys.com. So check it out. But Sigmund, we got to go through starting with quarterbacks and starting with Joe Flacco. Okay, we're back. It's just a different
Yeah.
team. But now Flacco has another opportunity, which means you have an opportunity.
Yeah, and maybe one of the only opportunities at quarterback, depending on how deep your league is. In week 5, we'll say, even if you're 0-4, you're still alive. Marathon through a minefield. Stay resilient. Waiver wire is the first step to staying resilient, persevering. But at quarterback, it's kind of like, well, you got what you got. You can pick up Joe Flacco, although it sounds like it's a hip pointer for Anthony Richardson. Again, check out everything Adam Hutchinson is doing in terms of injury stuff at Football Guys. Absolutely essential. But we may see Flacco start against Jacksonville. We may not. But Flacco can still be a good preemptive ad because, well, will Anthony Richardson stay healthy? Will Shane Steichen use him in a way to preserve his health? Signs pointing to no. And Flacco, we can see as he came in against the Steelers, really it is Shane Steichen also. I think Shane Steichen has more ideas of how to beat pass defenses than Anthony Richardson can execute right now. But Joe Flacco, he can execute them.
Yeah, he can execute them and they can win football games. And in that division, you got an opportunity there. That's for sure. So you got an opportunity with your cat.
Yeah. Should have fed her before the show.
Yeah, it's all good. It's all good. Should have picked up Andy Dalton last week, right? That's what fantasy GMs are saying. So if Dalton's still out there, Bloom, swing your sword.
Yeah, there's just not much movement at quarterback, honestly. Justin Fields, I guess, would be the other one. Looking at public leagues, I saw in Yahoo he was 32% owned. So, and of course, right at the time that the specter of Russell Wilson is being raised, no, don't pick up Russell Wilson. If Andy Dalton, you were waiting to see, was it just that the Raiders are making business decisions? No, the Bengals, not a good pass defense, but certainly one that shows us that Andy Dalton is going to be able to put up numbers because Carolina doesn't have a very good pass defense. We'll see how Dalton does against Chicago this week, but with not much shaken at quarterback, maybe you can see if they were overlooked Dalton and Fields last week.
Yeah, let's talk about the running back situation. And to quote the great Joe Bryant, things change pretty quickly around here because Tyler Bidet was set to have a larger role with the Broncos, and then he had a back injury. Javonte Williams, are they figuring it out with him? The Jets are a little softer against the run. Javonte had his best game of the year, and they were also using zone concepts. Sean is not a zone guy. He's a gap guy, but with Williams out there, he was using zone concepts. Maybe it was the wet field. Maybe it was Sean Payton having some revelation like, hey, my guy's good at zone. Let's do zone. But either way, it worked for Javonte, which means Javonte, once on shut him down, now on your waiver wire.
Yeah, and maybe not the highest priority guy, but let's just talk about this too, Cease, because would you say that what we saw from Javonte after Bidet went down is different than what we saw from him, not just in terms of the concepts, but in terms of maybe his intensity?
Yes. He was going to get replaced.
Yeah.
So you saw a guy that was like, I get my job back.
Yeah. Career near-death experience, I think, sometimes can be that for Javonte Williams. And the other thing that you like about Javonte is he's married to, what do we say every week? Broncos defense, underrated. 14 hits on Aaron Rodgers. The week after Baker Mayfield, Baker second in the league in touchdown passes. Mayfield had a miserable day against the Broncos. So as long as the Broncos defense can keep teams within shouting distance, Javonte Williams is going to get as many touches as he can handle.
Yes, and then we've got a cluster of running back, Bloom, and your full rankings again, footballguys.com. But you want to talk about Kareem Hunt and others here as well.
Yeah, there's so many. Carson Steele fumbled again. You see how quickly things can change. And we knew that the first fumble he had, even though he got a good review from Andy Reid, but undrafted rookies, there's not a lot of tolerance there. Rico Dowdle is the guy in Dallas. I don't know what that's actually worth. It was worth about 13 points with that passing touchdown that he got when they picked up the penalty flag. This Tank Bigsby situation in Jacksonville is going to be rough because, first of all, it's not a team setting us up for a good game strip. Second of all, it's Travis Etienne's not going to go away. This is going to be a committee, but you see Bigsby breaking those long runs. Trey Sermon might be one of the most interesting guys here. Cease, how many times do you hear mild high ankle sprain?
Never happens.
That's what Ian Rappaport said about Jonathan Taylor. And it's the same ankle he had problems with last year. coming out of the previous season. So Trey Sermon is interesting here. Justice Hill should be rostered, period. I know that he had a good fantasy game, but you can see that he is continuing to take another step. Let's add him, by the way, to the list of running backs, showing us that Achilles, not a death knell. Alexander Madison, and I was excited to see what country strong Zamir White could do with a whole season as the lead back. Alexander Madison just looks better. And we'll see if that translates. If Alexander Madison had just played like this last year when he had an opportunity that we translated to a 5th, 6th round draft pick in fantasy drafts, well, that's how fantasy is. Make sure that Tyler Algier is rostered. Again, this is more of a public league kind of thing, but he looks good. And sorry if you have Bijan Robinson, but Algier is just too good to be a mere backup. And he was the spark plug for this offense in the second half. And I'll mention as a preemptive pickup. And again, check the entire report. This is not comprehensive, but I want to make sure to mention Kendre Miller because Nick Chubb, Jonathan Brooks, TJ Hawkinson, all those guys were stashed. Even in leagues without IR spots, those guys were stashed. Kendre Miller? Maybe not. And I know Tennis Allen, the curmudgeon, not exactly a warm, fuzzy guy, but we see what Jamal Williams can do at this point in his career. And it's not much. It's below replacement level. Kendre Miller, maybe above replacement level. We know this team is going to be a run to set up the pass team going forward. We know that Kendre Miller actually has a good skill set for the running game, the Clint Kubiak running game. And we know that Alvin Kamara was on the injury report with not one, but 2 injuries going into the game last week.
That's not good for a guy who seems to be banged up a lot.
Yeah.
Moving to the wide receiver position. Couple of guys that I'll toss to you, Bloom. But first, let's start with Dontayvion Wicks. Should already be rostered, but whatever.
Right.
He's out there. Jordan Love's back, which means you pick up Wicks.
Yeah, and with Christian Watson down with a high ankle sprain, may go on IR, at least it's not a fracture. And we knew that Dontayvion Wicks was one of those rare wide receivers that you draft because of the contingent upside if the player in front of him goes down. In this case, it was Christian Watson, who didn't go down because of hamstrings. So I think they got that figured out. But getting leveled as your quarterback is throwing you into traffic and throwing an interception, that's not something you can plan for in terms of injuries. Wicks had those 2 touchdowns. We know that he, with Jordan Love is out there firing. So Dontayvion Wicks is going to be an every week play, certainly against the Rams this week. You can plug him right into your lineup. I wouldn't be surprised if Dontayvion Wicks, a lot of teams that stashed him are teams that are going to prosper. Remember, as we go on the marathon through the minefield, set yourself up maybe to be the next team that benefits from another team's misfortune.
Yes. How about benefiting from Xavier Leggette? It's fantastic and showing more than just being a jump ball guy or out muscle you guy.
Right.
And that's what happens when your quarterback's a little more precise.
Exactly. Andy Dalton opening up possibilities that were not there with Bryce Young. And what we saw with Leggette, again, it's skills. It's skills that we saw from him, not just traits. Traits got him drafted. Yes. Skills are going to produce, especially in Adam Thielen's role. So I think Xavier Leggette is obviously a priority guy. I wasn't as ready to endorse him as a pickup last week without seeing as much to see if he had those skills. I thought it was going to be more of a Quentin Johnston situation where, well, maybe it's too much too fast for a player that you want to develop so those traits get unlocked by developed skills. So this is fantastic for the Panthers to have that number 2 receiver. Other players I want to just mention at wide receiver, Mike Williams is making Mike Williams plays outside. He's making the jump ball plays. He's making those just trust me plays, and Aaron Rodgers should be making more of those kinds of throws to him, especially to keep up with the Vikings this week. Jordan Whittington got the Cooper Kupp share of targets. There was probably even more there for Whittington. Kupp's going to be out for at least 2 more weeks. Going up against Green Bay this week, Jordan Whittington could be a good wide receiver 3 flex. By the way, I should mention, it's the beginning of bye weeks. 4 teams on bye and some pretty good offenses, Detroit and Philly, Chargers, Tennessee. All these teams are on bye, so you may have to dig a little deeper for someone like Whittington or Tutu Atwell, who continues to give us a high floor because he's the downfield target. And I just want to say again, Matthew Stafford gets the Purple Heart right now. Make sure that Josh Downs is not out there, because even if we see Anthony Richardson come back, we're seeing Downs getting unlocked, and we're seeing Downs as a player, I think more so than Michael Pittman, that on third down, if the Colts need someone to come open early in a route, if they need someone to convert, I think that's Downs in this offense. I think you're going to see his value grow no matter who the quarterback is.
It's quarterback of Jordan Love, which means another conversation about the Green Bay Packers. And you've brought him up a lot. Tucker Kraft, a favorite of Sigmund
Yeah.
Bloom, now a favorite on your waiver wire.
Yeah. Also, just a quick appendage to the appendix to the wide receivers. Also, with the Davante Adams talk. See, do you think Davante Adams is trying to get traded, or do you think he's genuinely hurt?
I think his hamstring will be a lot better when he's playing for the Jets.
Yeah. So Trey Tucker, Jacoby Myers, go ahead and make sure those guys are rostered too. Make sure that Tucker Kraft is rostered. And I forget who it was that put it. Oh gosh, was it Marcus Grant? I love Marcus Grant, so I'm glad I get to say his name if it wasn't him. See, here's the take at tight end. Okay, every tight end is a drop, and every tight end is someone you can start. This is the state of the tight end position in fantasy football in 2024. Is he a drop? Yes. Can I start him? Yes. Who are we talking about? Everybody. Well, Tucker Kraft, actually, no, he's not a drop. He's a pickup, and he's a start, as we're seeing that great run after catch ability. And yeah, Jordan Love's not going to throw 54 passes every time, but I think the number that was maybe Dave Richard who came up with this. Again, my brain is Swiss cheese at this point. So I love you all out there doing fantasy work. I love you all out there consuming fantasy work. 6 targets. If you could just get a tight end to get 6 targets in a game. So Tucker Kraft got more than that. He got 6 catches yesterday. He also had a fumble. But we know that he's favored over Luke Musgrave. Let's not forget about Luke Musgrave in dynasty leagues, by the way.
Right.
I mean, he was the best athlete at tight end last year. So we'll see if Tucker Kraft can keep this up. But again, against the Rams, yeah, I'm going to take my chance with any pass catcher against the Rams, even though the Bears got the running game going against them yesterday. That's 2024 for you.
Well, let's talk about Cade Otton then. Speaking of those 6 catches, he had that too.
Yeah, and you just see this is a highly efficient pass offense with Baker Mayfield. And you had Cade Otton getting 6 catches yesterday, even though you had 6 catches for Godwin. You had, I think, 8 catches for Mike Evans. You had Sterling Shepard. Remember him? He's getting some run now as Trey Palmer caught a touchdown. He went down. So you saw the Bucs pass offense can fill a lot of cups. It can feed a lot of mouths. And remember, in tight end, we don't even need a big spoon to get enough to get nourished in our fantasy lineup. So it wasn't just Denver's defense and picking on Denver's defense on a miserable day for Baker Mayfield in week 3. This was a day where everything was going well for Baker Mayfield, and Cade Otton had another good game. I mentioned Eric All also, as he is already still not a year removed from ACL surgery, already overtaking Mike Gesicki in terms of targets, in terms of involvement in this offense. It's Joe Burrow. Okay. We remember seeing how this pass offense revived the careers or added so many zeros to the bank accounts of CJ Uzoma, of Hayden Hurst. Okay. Well, it's not going to happen for Eric All as long as he can stay healthy, knock on wood, until the end of his rookie contract. But as a rookie making an impact right now, you're looking for somebody with momentum at tight end. Cincinnati this week playing Baltimore. So I do think we are going to see Eric All continue to be more involved. And as teams are looking at Chase and Higgins as the guys they need to stop, Eric All is going to be a rising star.
Yeah, a rising moment in this program that I hate to rush. In fact, I refuse to rush. I kind of need to rush. But we appreciate you all for helping us out on our YouTube channel. Like, comment, share, subscribe, all those sorts of things. But mainly, we want to hear the stories of where you are when you have to say this, must say this. If you listen to this podcast, and I don't care if this is the first time, I don't care if you've just jumped on board. Actually, when I flew to Dulles, Bloom, I was sitting next to a Football Guys subscriber and Steve. So big fan of the Audible. I checked my ticket at the gate, and the lady's like, OBT's a BFD, because I say that about Orange and Blue today. Mm-hmm. And then I sit down, and the guy's like, the Audible. So thank you, Steve. Hope you had a great time in Italy. But either way, wherever you are, maybe you're on a flight to Italy, Bloom. I need you. We need you to say this. So in week 5, sometimes you just got to scream it to the heavens or whisper in an office. But either way, I want you to join in and say, cue the Chuck D. Bloom, week 5, shut them down.
Yeah. Dulles is a beautiful terminal. One of the gorgeous. Eero Saarinen, I think, was the architect. Gorgeous. One of the best public buildings out there. So let's start here, Cecil, and you can tell me if you agree or disagree. Shut him down, Kyle Pitts.
Yep.
Yeah. And I think the problem here is that they're just not trying to get him involved. When they ask Raheem Morris about it, and he's like, we're just trying to win games. What's the implication there? Kyle Pitts isn't helping us win games. He's probably not going to help us win fantasy games. And this is a classic Paul Charchian sabotage drop where, I mean, even if Kyle Pitts and his immense speed and size do create some plays, and the plays may be there, all that's going to do is induce you into starting him the next week when he doesn't do anything. I do think that Caleb Williams at this point is not a hold. If you need to free up a roster spot for a Dontayvion Wicks, for one of these running backs, for an Xavier Leggette, okay? The reason I say that is because the Mercedes Lewis, that's awesome. See, I think, what did he come into the league, 2007? So he came into the league 1 year later than the Audible started, I believe. I don't know if the math checks out. Mercedes Lewis goes to the coaches. We got to be more aggressive. They established the run. I just think that this team wants to be a defense and running game team. And even though Caleb Williams has those 3 wide receivers, I just don't think that he's going to be reliable week to week in fantasy football. Cam Akers, probably see Joe Mixon return. You already saw J.J. Taylor and Dare Ogunbowale do some stuff in the pass game. The upside's just not there for Akers. Carson Steele, it was sad. I wanted to believe, Cease. I wanted to believe, but not every fullback is going to turn into Peyton Hillis. Brandon Cooks, I just think if this is a pass-heavy offense, it's running through Dak Prescott, Cooks isn't getting it done. What are we waiting for?
Right.
And just like a ceremonial shut him down for Roshi Rice. The interceptions can be costly to your team more than just as a turnover. And I guess the question about Rice becomes, when are we going to see him on the field again? Not this year, and we'll see about the beginning of next year.
Yeah, and Pat Mahomes, keep your head up when you tackle. They teach you that, Bloom. Like,
keep Pop Warner, right?
Yeah, keep your head up. Come on, Patty and Mahomes. Anyway, opposite of shut him down, of course, is hold on. So, Bloom, it's week 5. Who are some of your hold ons?
You're not going to believe it, folks. Anthony Richardson. Anthony Richardson's still a hold on. And I get it. I'm not saying that we're still waiting to start him until things get established, but we know he has a good play caller in Shane Steichen. He was making some plays as a passer before he went down. Okay, I know that we have some questions about how much he's going to be a runner by design and if he can hold up as a runner. But the reality is, on a week-to-week basis, he still presents a higher ceiling than all but 6, 7, maybe fantasy quarterbacks. And even if Anthony Richardson, now again, in short bench leagues, maybe this is a little different. But otherwise, if he's languishing on my bench, I know that he's not going to hurt me in the classic Cecil Lammey 3-week window where he goes off. And maybe that 3-week window is the fantasy playoffs. Maybe he won't be healthy then. The other one, Cecil, I'll toss it to you as our final note. I think Mark Andrews is a hold on. The only reason I say, now look, if it's like I have to drop Andrews to get Dontayvion Wicks, okay, or I get that, Justin Fields or something like that in a public league. But I do think that there are some days that Mark Andrews is going to be a bigger part of the game plan. Yeah, if Baltimore continues to jump out to big leads and Derrick Henry is rampaging, marauding through defenses, they don't need Andrews. They don't need Likely. They don't need Zay Flowers. Everybody came up small. And with Mark Andrews, I think the good thing here is this is a guy that has not necessarily been the most durable. And I do think you're going to see him last a little bit longer in terms of his viability. I don't think that Mark Andrews just fell off a cliff in terms of quality of play, in terms of ability to make a difference. I just think that the Ravens and the challenges they've had and the game scripts they've had, they haven't needed him. So they're content to have him not very involved. I think better days are coming from Mark Andrews, but you might think different, Cease, and think like Pitts, he's to shut him down. What do you think?
Yeah. I think my brain hurts. How about that?
Yeah. That's fantasy football in the year 2024. So you're up to speed if your brain is hurting at the end of the show. But no, we want to send you a big hug and say we're here with you, suffering, and we're together no matter what.
Many kisses to you all out there. Many kisses to you, Sigmund, and to all of our audience. Thank you for watching on YouTube. Give us that thumbs up. Make sure to subscribe and check out footballguys.com for Sigmund's full report. He's Sigmund Bloom. You follow him on Twitter X at Sigmund Bloom. I'm at Cecil Lammey. The show's at The Audible saying thanks. Watch the videos. All up in the videos. And as always, stay frosty, baby.